What are you doing here? My ex-husband showed up at my door out of the blue. We've been divorced for 5 years now. He straight off demanded outrageous things. Come to my parents' funeral with me. We are going to rekindle our marriage, and I need you to be there. What the hell? What's he talking about? He keeps repeating the ridiculous statement. I gave him a dirty look and lashed out. You and I are strangers now. There's no way I'm going to attend the funeral of your parents, who are assholes just like you. My name is Patty, and I am a 28-year-old office worker. After graduating from university, I was working hard at the company where I started my career and climbed up the ladder. My work seemed to suit me very well, and I felt more alive when I was working. But then something happened that changed my life. It was the encounter with Andy, who later became my husband. I met him through work. He worked for a client company and carried a calm and gentle air that enveloped his surroundings. I was the type to work briskly, so it was refreshing to see him work at his own pace without constraint. And yet he was able to get the job done, so I was attracted to him more and more. As we worked together, we grew closer, and he eventually asked me out. He proposed to me after about a year of dating. I was so in love with him that I accepted without hesitation. Our families were elated, and we had a memorable wedding. Then we went on our honeymoon trip and began our life as newlyweds. We were both working, so we helped each other and shared the household chores. Andy had lived on his own since university and was able to manage cooking to some extent. I appreciated that he was capable of sharing the task with me. It allowed me to focus on my work, and I was grateful for having a considerate and dependable husband. Then I got pregnant. While I was very happy to have a child, I wanted to work a little longer. I planned to take a year-long leave to focus on my baby and then return to work. Andy agreed with my proposal. Then the baby was born. She was a healthy little girl. We named her Lydia. Andy was overjoyed, and his parents and I were also delighted to welcome her. After the birth, his parents frequently asked Andy and me when we would visit them again. I didn't dislike them or anything, but when they pestered us so often, I started to grow tired of them. In the meantime, Andy suggested something to me. How about we move in with my parents while you're on maternity leave? It's annoying to arrange my schedule every time we go to see them. Besides, you can have their help with housework and babysitting. I see, that's true. We were living in a rented apartment at the time, so moving out was easy. We could live with the in-laws for a year until my leave was up. They could see their grandchild, and Andy also could take care of his parents. I decided to go along with the idea. He immediately asked them, and they enthusiastically agreed. We got ready and moved to their house. Annie, John, thank you for letting us stay with you for a while. When I thanked my in-laws, they welcomed me with a smile, and then immediately took Lydia from my arms and started playing with her. Sweet little bean, you're so adorable. Lydia was chuckling with happiness, and they were so good to her. I thought I was going to spend a peaceful and enjoyable time with them. But it was only for that day. The next day, I was violently awakened by Annie. "Betty, how long are you going to stay in bed?" I hastily checked the time on my phone and saw that it was only 5:30 in the morning. What's wrong, Annie?" "What's wrong? You're staying with us for free. I oblige you to make breakfast for the whole family. You have to pack lunch for Andy and John too." I was in shock. I didn't expect to be told such a thing all of a sudden. Andy assured me before we moved in that his parents could help me with housework and childcare. Of course, as a housewife, I was going to do my share of chores properly. I never thought that the burden would be more than when we lived by ourselves. I was half asleep when I went to the kitchen. Lydia still cried badly at night, so it was 2 a.m. when I finally went to sleep. It was really hard for me to be up and running at 5:30 in the morning. I was moving very slowly. Annie wasn't concerned about my state and complained frantically. "Why are you so slow? You're taking too long. Move faster. Oh my God, you're clumsy. So annoying." I had never seen such a frightening expression in her face before, and what she was telling me was unreasonable. In fact, it was my first time cooking in her kitchen, and I had no idea where everything was. I didn't understand why I had to be scolded by her. Then, perhaps sensing that I wasn't happy, she yelled at me again. "What's that look on your face? You got a problem with me?" "No, it's not like that. It's just that I'm not familiar with this kitchen yet. Besides, Lydia cried a lot last night, and I had only 3 hours of sleep. I'd like you to consider that a little more." I tried to be as polite and down-to-earth as possible as I argued my case to her. She sneered and replied, "I can't imagine what's gonna be like for us from now on if you're like this from day one. You're such a crook, making up excuses like that and trying to slack. I guess a woman with a half-assed career has a half-assed silver tongue, but it doesn't work on me. You're the daughter-in-law of this family. You're going to obey everything we tell you. Keep that in mind." She ordered me to finish making breakfast and lunch boxes, and then she started watching TV as she lounged on the sofa with her coffee. Soon after, Andy and John got up and sat down at the dining table. Annie also joined them, and to my surprise, she started ranting to them about how useless and bad a cook I was in front of me. John commented, "That's not good. We have to educate her properly." I was disappointed in him for taking her words and for making such a statement. My in-laws welcomed me and were kind to me at first, which made me hope that he would be on my side. Andy was Annie's only son, so I thought she was jealous of me taking him from her. When John also started acting cold toward me, it became clear that my in-laws considered me an enemy. My daughter was still a newborn, and I was still in love with Andy, so I didn't think about divorcing him. Andy was on my side at that time, telling them, "Buddy was doing her chores well at home before." I thought if he protected me, I could get by. Besides, we were only living together for a limited time while I was on leave. If I just put up with them for a little while, there would be no problem. It turned out I was naive. Their bullying became even worse. "Patty, hurry up and go buy the snack I asked you for. Hey, why haven't you cleaned the garden I asked you to? You're so useless. You're incompetent. They were unreasonable and abusive at the same time. I looked to Andy for help. "Guys, don't be too hard on her." That was all he said, and went to lay on the sofa as if he had nothing to do with it anymore. I expected him to be sterner with them, but he avoided making eye contact with me. My in-laws weren't persuaded to change their attitude just because their son gave them a soft warning. They continued to treat me like a slave and insulted me every chance they had. It's a shame to think that Lydia has poor genes from you. I hope Andy's side comes out stronger. I wish you would just leave Lydia with us and move out. I couldn't stand their hostility anymore. What made them think it's okay to deny my personality? They were becoming out of control, so I consulted Andy. "Hon, can you do something about your parents? You need to persuade them to stop mistreating me." He frowned at me. "I've been doing everything I can, haven't I? You can take care of the rest yourself. I heard you've been skipping chores at home. A neighbor even told me that it must be tough to have a lazy wife." "Wait a minute, why would the neighbor say that?" "I don't know. She's close to my mom, so they must talk a lot. Anyway, don't humiliate me." "Are you kidding me? Are you saying that it is all my fault too?" "No, but if you'd behaved yourself, Mom and Dad wouldn't have complained." I was shocked by his comment. "I can't take it anymore. No matter how hard I try, they don't approve of me. Let's just get a place for ourselves again. We've been living here for more than half a year. They must have had enough time with Lydia now." Andy simply refused my suggestion. "Why not?" I told them we would stay with them for a year. If we leave now, I'm breaking my promise. I don't want to hurt them. "Jesus, so will you promise me that we'll move out after a few more months?" "Sure, I promise." I decided to endure it as best as I could for the remainder of my stay. I managed to get through 5 more months of hell, and the promised 1 year was up. I immediately told Andy we were going to move out. I had even been sneaking out to view many apartments for the day. Since we could move easily, I showed him the information I got from the realtor. He scratched his head and announced something insane. "You know, my parents are saying that we should just live here forever." "Excuse me?" "So let's just stay here and not move out." "Are you crazy? You promised me, didn't you?" "We would move out after 1 year." "I can't believe you would break your promise." When I accused him, he snapped back. "Shut up. I am your husband. You listen to what I tell you." I was stunned to see him suddenly turn red and yell at me. At the same time, my love for him instantly cooled down. "Fine, I get it. Then let's get a divorce." "What the hell? Divorce? Are you serious?" He shouted even louder. My in-laws heard him and rushed into our room. "What's going on here? You woke Lydia and she's crying now." "I heard you yelling. Don't tell me this thing is giving you trouble." Who was he referring to by this thing? Their behavior seriously pissed me off, and Andy was on their side. "Yeah, Dad. This thing wants to get out of here as soon as possible. It's been talking about getting a divorce." When Andy explained, they became furious at me. "You're a piece of work. You really are a lousy woman. Get a divorce, Andy. She asked for it, so just get rid of her and let us take custody of Lydia. We'll be a happy family then." Andy seemed to be convinced by her. That makes sense. I haven't done anything wrong. Even if I refuse to divorce her, she's forcing me to leave. That's fine. I'll give it to you. Let's hurry up and file for it, he triumphantly declared. I got ready and went out. Then I brought the divorce papers back home. Oh, you're back. Who's that guy? Andy and his parents were puzzled looking at the man in a suit standing next to me. He's my attorney I've been consulting with for some time. I thought that maybe things would turn bad, so I've been preparing for it. When they heard the word attorney, they flinched. Why do you need him? Did you think I was gonna keep quiet and let you guys get away with it? I recorded all the insults that came from Annie and John with a voice recorder and wrote about them on my blog as evidence. I also kept the records and proof that I consulted you about it. I took all this to my attorney, and he assured me that I had a valid case against you all. So I'm divorcing you and taking Lydia with me. I'm also going to charge you alimony and child support for all the emotional pain and suffering you have caused me. They all turned pale listening to my declaration. They never expected me to be prepared for this. Andy seemed to understand that he was being pushed to the edge of a cliff. Wait, honey. All right, I'm sorry. Let's leave this house and live happily with only the three of us. I'll do as you say. He abruptly changed his attitude, but it was already too late. You and your parents are the three of you now. You three lousy adults can live happily together. If I keep Lydia here any longer, she will be influenced by you guys. I refuse to be with in-laws who enjoy bullying and a son who encourages it. I want you to sign the divorce papers now. He was agitated by my firm stand, but when my attorney mentioned that it'll go to court if he refused, he reluctantly signed them. I was able to get custody of Lydia and get away from Andy and my in-laws at the same time. Andy was to pay alimony and child support, but my revenge did not end there. The evidence I collected was sent to nosy neighbors and Andy's boss. As a result, the unbelievable behaviors of my ex-in-laws spread throughout the community in no time. They were shunned by the neighbors, and Andy was scorned by his co-workers. He worked hard while feeling ashamed to pay alimony and child support. 5 years had quickly passed since the divorce. One day, an unexpected person showed up at my house. What are you doing here? It was Andy. I hadn't seen him once in 5 years, as he had refused to see his daughter. So why did he suddenly show up? His threat of demanded outrageous things. Come to my parents' funeral with me. We are going to rekindle our marriage, and I need you to be there. What the hell? What in the world was he talking about? Why do I need to do that? If you do, that'll give me a little more grace period. I have no clue what you're talking about. He seemed quite impatient and started revealing what had happened since the divorce. His parents got used to making me do all the housework for a long time, and they became too lazy to do it themselves. They ended up hiring a housekeeper, but they are just an ordinary family. It was too expensive to sustain the lifestyle, and yet they could not give up. So they started borrowing money from a loan shark. Andy was shunned by female co-workers at work, and was in agony from being unable to meet women. He tried to make a move on the housekeeper and was reported and arrested. He got fired from his job afterward and had been unemployed for a long time. In the meantime, the debts kept mounting, and the entire family decided to flee in the night. John, who was driving in the middle of the night, accidentally turned the steering wheel on a mountain road, and the car slid and spun around. As a result, his parents died at the scene, and only he survived. He was left with a large amount of debt with additional medical bills. The debt collector found out where he was, and he was in a desperate situation. He told the debt collector that he would get back together with me, who was making good money, and he would make me pay them back at the funeral. Of course, it was none of my business, and I had no obligation to help him. Please help me out. I have nobody but you now. Let's be married again, love each other, and raise Lydia together. He begged me on his knees. I glared at the man who kept talking selfish nonsense. Enough! You and I are strangers now. There's no way I'm going to attend the funeral of your parents, who are assholes just like you. You made a debt on yourself. Now, get out of here before I call the police. At the mention of the word police, he panicked and walked away. I heard from an acquaintance that he disappeared after the funeral. No one knows where he went, but I don't feel sorry for him because he deserved everything he got. I'm raising my beloved daughter, who is growing up to be a sweet little girl, with the best care I can give her. I'm also determined to do my best at my job and make the most of my life.
My husband selfishly decided to have his sister move in with us. When I spoke to her, the truth came out.
Hey, where's my stuff? My husband looked pale, thinking this can't be happening. I see that you have a very unusual hobby of sending someone's belongings without permission, so I did the same. It's funny, isn't it? Hope you're happy. Worried that he would faint, my idiot sister-in-law grimaced at me. I have suffered from these two more than enough. It's my turn now, so brace yourself. My name is Maya. I'm a 30-year-old secretary. I've been working hard all my life. I had a fateful encounter and married my husband Jason a year ago. He has two sisters who are 2 years older and 6 years younger, so he knew how to treat women. I fell for his loving and caring manner. However, there's one person who's been troubling me since the beginning of our marriage. It's his younger sister, Jasmine. She got a job after graduating from college, but I quit because it just didn't seem right for me. You know what they say, the first 3 months are crucial, right? She quit her job after only 3 months. She's moving from job to job after that. When she came to visit me for the first time, "Whoa, what a tidy house. You're good at cleaning. I'm the youngest, so I'm not good at housework. How amazing. I admire you." I wasn't particularly as good as she thought. Jason suddenly told me that night that she was coming over, so I cleaned up the house in a haste. I didn't feel bad for being praised by her, although I wondered that being the younger had to do with cleaning skills. I was happy to see her, who was bubbly and cheerful. I also liked the idea of having a younger sister-in-law as I was the only child. That day, she came over at 2 p.m. and didn't show a sign of leaving until 6 p.m. I wanted to get ready for dinner, so I mentioned, "Well, I'm gonna start cooking dinner." I hoped she would get a hint and leave, but I got an unexpected reaction from her. "Yay, can I watch it? I love watching people cook." Seeing the twinkles in her eyes, it was hard for me to say no. "Sure," I forced a smile. She wasn't interested in helping me, but just watched the whole time. I guess that she planned to eat with us at that point and kept cooking. "I've been living alone, and it's lonely to eat by myself. When I lived at home, I had my parents and siblings. It tasted better to eat with someone else." Jason overheard her comment. "Well then, come for dinner with us once in a while from now on. Your place is close to here. We were feeling lonely with just the two of us. Isn't that right, babe?" That's right." I wasn't really keen on it. Jasmine wasn't a bad girl, but we were still newlyweds and we both worked. I valued our private time having a meal together. I enjoyed eating what I prepared and talking about the day's events with each other. It seemed I was the only one who thought so. I was a little disappointed, but there was another reason why I could not refuse. My in-laws lived about an hour's drive. When we got married, my mother-in-law asked me, "My oldest is very independent and reliable, but the younger two grew up more carefree. Please take good care of Jason." I was so taken by her concerned tone of voice that I was obliged. I had not realized that my in-laws were pretty strange people at that point. I tried to think that having Jasmine over for dinner once in a while wasn't such a big deal. Contrary to my thought, she started to show her thick skin the next day. When I came home exhausted from working overtime, I was absolutely stunned by what I saw. "Oh, Maya, you're home at last. I'm starving. I can't wait to eat." Jason and Jasmine were lounging on the sofa. There were some leftover snacks on the table, and even some crumbs were littered on the floor. I wasn't OCD, but I was not happy to find that she came over without my permission and made a mess. On top of it, she asked me to hurry up and make her dinner as soon as I got home. I tugged on Jason's arm, who was laughing while watching TV. "Jason, honey, come here for a minute." "What the hell? It's just getting better," my idiot husband complained. "What's going on here? Why is she here again? Why is she making herself at home? Why?" He cut me off from asking one question after another. "Babe, wait, calm down. Why are you so upset? You said it was okay yesterday. She was lonely by herself, so she just came here to eat. Why does she need to come 2 days in a row? You said once in a while. Why are you making such a mess?" Jasmine heard what we were talking about. She apologetically said, "If it's bothering you, I'll go home. I'm sorry for making such a mess. I should have known better. I'll go home and have dinner alone. I felt sad because I had a lot of fun yesterday. Your food was better than Mom's, so She looked morose, and I impulsively said, "It's not that I'm bothered, but I didn't know you were coming today. Next time, please call me and let me know." Her face lit up immediately. "Okay, I'll let you know next time. I love you, Maya." She jumped up and hugged me tightly. She was petite and pretty, even seen from a woman's eyes. From a man's point of view, she would be the type of person he would want to protect. She also had a baby face and didn't look like she was 24. I wondered if this was the kind of girl who was good at being pampered. Thinking to myself, I began to prepare the meal. What are you going to make today? Bolognese, I think. Do you like it? She was thrilled. Yay! I have a lot of sauce, please. While I was astounded by her childlike gaiety, I felt that a lively dining table was not so bad once in a while. She stopped coming over every day, but came about twice a week after that. I'm in a good mood for rice and beans today. She remembered to call me, but she sometimes gave me a bold request. After about a month, Jason declared something outrageous. Sorry, hon, can you say that again? Contrary to my distress, he looked calm. Jasmine quit her job again. She got evicted from the house for not paying the rent. He was laughing. So, what's all this? Her stuff. I asked him what those boxes were, and they turned out to be Jasmine's belongings. He decided to let her stay at our house for a while without asking me. Meanwhile, she was looking at me with pleading eyes. It really pissed me off, so I took out my phone and called someone right away. Hello? Is this Kathy? I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm wondering if you've already heard about Jasmine quitting her job again and moving to our house? I looked at the two in front of me as I made a call. They looked back at me disapprovingly. This call should have settled everything. My in-laws should have come to pick her up, and I should have gone back to my peaceful life. I was triumphant and even thought I should have done this much sooner, but my mother-in-law had a surprising reaction. Has she done it again? Sam and I have always told her to be more patient. Is that how young people are nowadays? I'm sorry, Maya, but could you take her in for a while? You know, Sam and I are getting old for this. I didn't understand what she meant. No, I can't do that. Why would I take her in when she has your house to go back to? Please come and pick her up. I might have said it a little too sternly, but I had no regrets. I always thought that my in-laws were too lenient with their children. She was 24 and a grown woman. They were too indulgent. Kathy was reluctant and passed the phone to Sam. Hi, Maya. I beg you to let her stay there. You are an only child, so maybe you don't understand. Siblings are supposed to help each other. Now is the time, isn't it? He tried to admonish me in a gentle tone, but what he said didn't make sense. While I struggled to argue, Jason and Jasmine smirked at me. I was even more infuriated, but the last straw was Sam's next remark. Jasmine is quite childish, sweet and adorable, you know. Think of it as an exercise in parenting. By the way, I'm disappointed that I haven't heard the good news from you yet. I realized that it was pointless to speak to my in-laws and hang up the phone. From the frustrated look on my face, Jasmine must have felt confident that her parents were on her side. Thank you for your help, Maya. I was annoyed that she was easily getting her way. But I have a condition. I can only let you stay for 2 weeks. You can't stay longer than that. We don't have money to support an extra person. If you haven't found a job and a new place by then, you're going back to your parents' house. Understood? Jason will be your guarantor for the apartment, of course. She gave me a look of reproach, but I had made a great compromise in my own way. I wondered if she wanted us to support her. Unbelievable. And honey, why do you always decide things on your own? If you keep doing that, I have my own plans. In a situation like this, Jason usually apologized to me right away, but that day was different. He must have wanted to show his dignity as an older brother to his sister. You are heartless. She's in trouble. I wasn't pleased to hear him call me that. To him, she was his sister, but to me, she was unrelated. Besides, if I continued to spoil her, it would not do her any good. When the 2 weeks were approaching, she hadn't mentioned anything about finding a job or a new apartment. There were a lot of jobs out there if she looked for them. I'm looking, but it's not easy. She only made excuses. Things had remained awkward with Jason, and the mood at home was horrible. It seemed he was over-attached to Jasmine, and there were many days when they ate out together and came home late. When the promised 2 weeks were up, they pissed me off even more. I didn't feel well and took a leave from work that day. My friend had told me a terrible truth the day before. As I sat alone in my quiet room in the daze, I thought back on everything that had happened. What was my married life about? I even wished it had never happened. Jason and Jasmine came home together in the evening and showed no care for me. Babe, I need to talk to you. I thought Jasmine had finally found a job, but he announced another insanity. The reason you don't want her to stay here is mainly due to the living expenses, right? We thought about it, and why not have Jamie live here too? She makes a good salary, so it would make our life easier. He was so proud of the idea, and I felt nothing but sorry for him. I was sure he was crazy, and there was one more like him. My sister's never been angry with us no matter what we do. I think she'll agree with our idea. She travels a lot, so she's not home much. I think it's a really good idea. Jamie was their older sister and successful career woman. She had no desire to get married and was still single. According to Jason and Jasmine, they hadn't talked to her about moving in with us. They were absolutely self-serving. So, we went to her apartment the other day and packed up her stuff. They should have arrived today. Jason looked around the room. They're not here. I sent them back. They gave me puzzled looks. A few days ago, I contacted Jamie to see if she could help me since my in-laws were unreliable. She was on a business trip but made time to talk to me. Hey Maya, I was just about to call you too. I was truly surprised to hear what she had told me. I got a call from the manager of my apartment. He said Jason and Jasmine had come to pack my things for the move on my behalf. He is an old man and a little unreliable, so he let them in. What are they up to? She, of course, complained to the manager about it. Jason apparently showed him his driver's license and talked him into letting them. Still, it was absolutely outrageous, and I felt nothing but sympathy for Jamie. Jason and Jasmine act like criminals out of desperation. I explained to her about my situation and what her parents said. I've put up with it because they are my family. But I've reached my limit. I have an idea. The delivery came in the morning at good timing. There were a few boxes, and in addition, it was cash on delivery. She's not home right now, and I don't have cash on me. I'll have her call you later. I declined to receive them and then contacted Jamie immediately. She said she would go to the branch on her way home from the business trip. Since Jason was the one who shipped the boxes, she would drag him out with her. Jamie was pretty upset, you know. I thought she didn't get angry with you guys. By the way, I'm moving out of this house. If you want to live with your little sister so badly, go ahead and live together. It's been 2 weeks. Remember what I told you? If things don't change, I have other plans. I'm divorcing a selfish person like you." Then Jasmine spoke up. "Jason, let's do as she says. You have me, we both lived here, and I'll get a job. Well, you might have to look after me for a while, though." "That would be impossible, Jasmine." I simply stated the truth, and she pouted at me. I received a call from my friend for the first time in a while last night. She said a man in a suit recently appeared at a kid's playground near her office. That man usually sat on the swing alone while everyone else hastily walked by in their morning commute. People at her office were creeped out by him. What surprised her even more was that upon closer inspection, she recognized that the man was Jason. "You quit your job, right, Jason? I heard that you've been swinging in the park every day. Are you planning to join the Cirque du Soleil?" Yeah, something like that." I didn't feel any affection for him, who laughed off the situation that wasn't even remotely funny. He had resigned from his job the month before finding my back. "So, if you can't pay the rent, please get out of here immediately. Oh, and as a final act of kindness from me, your stuff is..." I opened the door to our bedroom. Jason seemed to notice something strange. "Hey, where's my stuff?" His face turned pale. "You seem to have a very unusual hobby of packing up other people's stuff without their permission, so I did the same to you. It's funny, isn't it? I hope you're happy." As he fell to his knees, Jasmine rushed to his side with a worried look and glared at me sharply. "Were you guys planning to live off of Jamie and me? You idiots! You told me that you had been working at your company for 2 years. Well, Jamie said you were actually jobless for a long time. I bet the reason you quit was just that you got tired of working. You, brother and sister, are just like each other." I must have hit the nail on the head, and he looked down, avoiding eye contact. At that moment, the doorbell rang. I had asked someone to come over. I invited the person into the apartment. "How much trouble do you two have to cause Maya? You guys are beyond redemption." Jamie stood with her arms on her hip, her legs apart, and glared at the two siblings. They were taken aback by her fury that they had never seen before and were frightened by her. "Criticism is proof of care, you know. Do you know what? I don't get angry with you guys. I've stopped expecting anything from you morons. But not this time. You troubled Maya. You better brace yourselves." She took them back to their parents' house by force. 1 month later, Jason and I had filed for a divorce, and I was having a coffee with someone. "So, Jamie, what happened to those two after that?" Waking up at 4 every morning to do physical labor." She laughed and explained more. After moving back to their parents' house, Jason complained to his parents as expected. "Take it easy on your brother, Jamie. You're being too harsh. I'm sure he can find a job again. You're his older sister, so you should help him until then." Her mother was still talking nonsense. Jamie shrugged her off and mentioned some magic words. Then she abruptly changed her attitude. "Jason, Jasmine, listen to your big sister." Her mother scolded them in a panic. She couldn't stop giggling, so I asked, "What? What did you say?" "I just told her I was going to stop spending money. You know, my parents had been nagging me to give them money ever since I started working. They even showed up at my office once. Thanks to them, I've been living in a dingy apartment. I could see that they wouldn't have hesitated to do such a thing. In the end, Jason and Jasmine were sent to a relative who was a farmer in the countryside. Now they get up at 4 a.m. every morning to help with the farming. There is no entertainment or anything around, and they've already tried to escape several times. Of course, they've been caught and brought back each time. When my uncle was told about the trouble they caused, he was very motivated to correct their rotten behavior. Well, I don't think people change that easily. By the way, you're leaving for Hong Kong next week, right? She's been transferred to the Far East and won't be returning the States for a while. She's determined not to send any money to her parents from now on. When she told them about it, they called her heartless and selfish. I thought they were despicable for taking a lot of money from her for a long time. After losing her financial help, they will probably have to live on a shoestring from now on. I had given up on life, but this was a good opportunity to break it off. Thank you, Maya, and I'm really sorry about my stupid brother. I hope you meet a truly nice guy someday and be happy. She left with a big smile on her face. Since then, I have moved and welcomed a new family member. She is a Chihuahua, and I named her Coco. She is very independent like a cat and has a snobby attitude, but that's what makes her so cute. Coco, let's go for a walk. The morning air always feels good. While on the walk I meet people, and I'm thankful for the new encounters. A lot has happened, but I'm going to forget the past and enjoy my new life.
Husband wants a divorce because he's marrying his girlfriend and asks me to take care of his parents who bully me.
I'm going to marry the woman I'm having an affair with, so divorce me.
My husband says so, openly. And then he even said this to me.
I need you to take care of my parents for my new married life.
Huh? I'm counting on you from now on. I can't be with these insane people who don't even blame their own son for having an affair, but instead try to depend on me. So I told them something. My in-laws turned blue and got down on their knees to me as hard as they could. I am so sorry. My name is Mel. I am a 40-year-old part-time housewife. My husband and I have been married for about 16 years. We met through work. We are colleagues in the same company. We worked together on the same projects and went out for drinks. My husband was 2 years older than me and seemed to be a much more mature man to me at that time. He was funny and cool, and I fell in love with him at once. After a few dates, we started dating. After about a year of dating, he proposed to me, and we got married. I was very happy that I was going to marry the man I loved. I was only 24 years old at the time, but I think I really loved him because I still decided to marry him. After that, my husband and I worked together and had a happy married life. 3 years into our marriage, our son, Zach, was born. He was so cute. I thought he was an angel when he was just born. We were building a good family and were happy. I think it was a good thing that I quit my job after the birth because I was able to devote myself to raising our son and spend a lot of time with him. And I had a good relationship with my in-laws. When I visited my in-laws, they talked to me kindly with smiles on their faces and made me feel comfortable. I thought that we had a really happy married life. My in-laws love their grandson, Zach, very much, so they often came in our house or would invite us to theirs. Then my husband made this suggestion.
Why don't we move in with my parents? Then they could see Zach every day and we could live in a big house without paying rent.
Indeed, I thought his proposal was a good one. It was because of the good relationship between my in-laws and me at that time. My son is going to grow up and it would be better for him to live in a bigger house where he can live freely. So I agreed to live with them. However, I came to realize that my decision was wrong at that time. At first, I thought that living together was going very well. My parents-in-law seemed very happy to be able to live with their grandchild, and my husband seemed relaxed to be back at home. I did my best to do housework as a housewife, and my parents-in-law and my husband never complained to me. My son grew up to be a good boy, and we all watched him grow up. However, there was one thing that bothered me a little. My parents-in-law spoiled my son too much, buying him everything and giving him allowance without my permission. I saw this and thought it was not good for his upbringing, so one day I said to my in-laws, "Could you please stop buying Zach so many things?" When I said this, my in-laws' eyes widened and they became angry. "Are you going to deprive us of the joy of spending time with our Zach? Do you think you are the only one raising him?" My in-laws yelled at me like that, but as a mother, I wanted to educate him properly. That's why I didn't back down. That's not what I'm saying. Of course, feel free to play with Zach. But please don't buy him things without asking me first.
Even if you say that, if Zach wants something, we want to buy it for him.
That's right. What if we don't buy it and we make him sad and he hates us? Are you going to take responsibility? It seems that my parents-in-law buy things for their grandchild to make him like them. But how are they going to take responsibility if my son becomes selfish because of it? I will explain to him that his grandparents are very kind and love him. So please, stop buying him too many things. Even though I had said all this, my in-laws did not seem to be convinced. Then they started talking to my husband when he came home from work as if it was my fault. "Mel doesn't want us to play with Zach. She wants him all by herself. She wants to be the only one who gets to love him." I was surprised to hear my in-laws say something completely different, and my husband took them at their word.
Hey, what's the meaning of this? Are you being mean to my mom and dad?
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't do anything like that. I explained it to my husband. I told him that I just wanted them to stop buying too many things for Zach's sake. But he only believed what my in-laws said, not what I said.
That's a load of crap. Don't lie to me like that.
I'm not lying.
So you think my parents are lying?
My husband's eyes widened and he got angry like that. In the end, no matter how much I tried to explain, he believed what my in-laws said.
I didn't think you were such a terrible woman.
Since then, my parents-in-law have been cold to me.
The food you cook tastes bad. You serve fish too often.
Don't treat us like we're old, idiot.
Don't embarrass my mother and father. You're such a useless wife.
That's what they say to me every day. How can they keep abusing me like that? I think it's mentally exhausting to keep on being picking on, and so I even considered divorce. But my son was still small, about 5 years old at the time, and I had been a housewife since he was born and had not worked for a long time, so I was worried about whether I would be able to find a new job. Besides, I was not sure if I would be able to leave with my son. Under the current circumstances, my in-laws can take care of him and my husband has a stable salary, so they might decide that it would be better for them to take him instead of me. I did not want to give up my son just because things were not going well with my in-laws, so I just had to endure without divorce. My in-laws and my husband began to say worse and worse things to me because I didn't resist. They abused me so much that I wondered if they were really the same people I'd known before, and I stopped thinking of them as human beings. It makes me feel a little better. I lived a hard life day by day in this way. No matter how badly my husband and in-laws treated me, I thought it would be better if I could be there to watch my son grow up. My son grew up fast and entered elementary school. I was worried that he might become selfish because my in-laws had given him too many things, but he is a good boy at home, and it seems to be the same at school. I was very happy when the homeroom teacher told me during the parent-teacher conference that my son is a very kind and considerate boy. And my son was studying hard and his grades were good. but for some reason, the people who were aware of this were making it as if it was their own achievement.
I guess it's because we did a good job raising him.
That's right. We praise him and we buy him whatever he wants. That's important. It doesn't make sense that if you buy him what he wants, his grades will improve. But my in-laws seem to want to involve themselves in everything. I just try to listen to them, praise my son's hard work. I never tried to bribe him with things like my in-laws did, but he still adored me. He always talked to me and told me about things that happened at school. I guess my in-laws did not like that. When my son reached middle school, the amount of things they bought for him increased. They used to buy him sweets and toys, but this time, they bought him the latest gaming consoles and games. No matter how much I tried to stop them, they wouldn't let me. So, I had to teach my son not to play too much and to be punctual and keep his promises. But even then, my in-laws still got themselves involved in a troublesome manner.
We feel sorry for him if he still wants to play. We want Zach to have fun, so we bought it for him.
Then I would report it to my husband and he would yell at me. I was completely disgusted. Anyway, all I wanted was for my son to grow up to be a good man. That was all I could think about as I went about my daily life. Time passed by and my son turned 13 years old. He's now a high school student and he's going through puberty, which may be very difficult for me as a parent. While I was thinking about this, an unexpected problem occurred. It was my husband's day off. My husband suddenly called me into the bedroom saying he wanted to talk to me. What on earth did he mean by inviting me here? I knew that he had no intention to do that because he and I had completely cooled off, and I myself didn't want to do such a thing with him anymore. While I was thinking about this, my husband suddenly made a surprising statement.
I'm going to marry the person with whom I'm having an affair.
What? I was surprised at the unexpected words from my husband.
Well, it's understandable to be surprised. I've been trying to keep you in the dark, but I thought it was time to tell you.
My husband told me so openly. Why would he want to tell the world that he's having an affair? Well, I don't know what a stupid person thinks. And finally, he says something like this.
I'm counting on you to take care of my parents for my new married life.
Huh? Wait a minute. You're getting a divorce, right? Then I'll have to leave with Zach, won't I? I said that and he said something crazy.
I'm the one who's leaving.
What? What do you mean?
So I'm going to leave here and start a new married life with my new wife. And I'm worried about my parents, so I'm leaving you in charge of the house. You'll have a house to live in with Zach, so it's a win-win.
I was speechless. It's not a win-win at all. I was at a loss for words at that crazy comment.
Well then, I'll tell them about it right away,
my husband said and suddenly started to go to the living room. I hurried after him. He gave the same explanation to my parents-in-law as he had given to me. I thought they would be angry at my husband for this, but my in-laws were also crazy people. Yes, I'll miss you, but, well, it can't be helped.
I know. The newlyweds should spend their honeymoon alone, so you'll take care of everything else, huh? I'll be counting on you.
My in-laws don't blame their own son for having an affair and try to depend on me. If you leave, I'll make sure you leave Zach behind. If you leave, you'll be the only one. I can't be with these insane people. I told them something. I'm telling you, since this is my husband's divorce, I can claim alimony and I have a better chance of getting my son.
What? What do you mean?
Because my husband committed adultery. Normally, the adulterer never gets custody, and the mother usually gets that.
Wait a minute. Then you'll take Zach and leave, won't you?
Yes, of course. That's the plan.
I won't let you.
That's it. Let's talk to Zach. My in-laws and my husband said so and went to call our son. Are they going to tell him everything? My son came into the living room. What's wrong?
Mom and Dad are getting a divorce.
What?
So you would like to stay here with your grandparents, wouldn't you?
That's an unfair way of explaining and asking questions. I quickly made my point. You better explain to him that you are divorcing me because of your adultery. When I said this, my husband and in-laws were in a panic.
Zach is just a junior high school student.
That's right. What are you trying to do to him by shocking him? My in-laws and husband were blaming me, but before I could say anything back, my son started talking. You're the one who caused the shock, aren't you? Why are you all blaming my mother? Well, I mean, I heard you all arguing earlier. So if you get divorced, which one of you will I follow? Of course, it's Mom. Zach, why? Don't you want to live with Grandpa and Grandma? You know, you were nice to me, but you were terrible to Mom, weren't you? To be honest, I can't forgive you. I despised you, and I despise Dad for not protecting her. Despise? My in-laws looked shocked. Anyway, I have one answer. I'm leaving here with my mom. From now on, I will protect her. Zach. I was so happy that my son was on my side. Then my in-laws turned pale and got down on their knees to me as hard as they could. We're sorry. Please don't leave this house. I don't want my grandchild to leave. My parents-in-law begged me. My husband too.
Please, can't you guys stay here?
He asked me again, saying that it's his plan. My son and I were not going to give in at any cost. Zach and I will no longer have anything to do with you. We will leave this house, and we will leave this house for good. I said this and started to pack up my things. My son joined me in packing his bag with only what he needed for the time being.
Where are you going? I screwed up. If you guys go to your parents' house, Zach will have to change schools. Don't you feel sorry for him?
My husband said things like that and tried to keep us here until the end. But then my son said to him, I'd rather change schools than to stay in this house forever. You should first be sorry for what you have done to Mom. The worst thing you did was to have an affair. Do you realize how much you've done to her? My husband is being told off like that by a child who has just started high school. I tried hard not to laugh at how hilarious it was. My husband was kneeling on the ground with a pale face. My in-laws were so exhausted that they just slumped down on the ground. My son and I left the house, and I drove to my parents' house with him by my side. After that, I hired a lawyer and demanded divorce, alimony, and child support for my husband. Of course, I also demanded alimony from the adulterous partner. My husband thought that if I moved in with my parents, he would not have to pay child support. However, everything did not go as planned, and as a result, he had to pay alimony and child support. Furthermore, the affair partner also said that the story he had told her was different, and so he was eventually dumped. He is currently staying with my in-laws and putting most of his income towards alimony and child support. Incidentally, I told the neighbors about the affair and sent a certified letter to my ex-husband's workplace, so people around my ex-husband know about it, and they look at him coldly and refuse to get involved with him. Because of you, we can't see Zach anymore. My ex-in-laws would blame my ex-husband.
It's because of my money that you have been living a good life, right?
It's said that they have been quarreling every day. My ex-husband sent me a message saying that he wanted to get back together with me, but I only read the message and blocked him. I also blocked his incoming calls so that he could not contact me at all. After I went back to my hometown with my son, I started working as an office worker for a friend of my father's company. Now, I am raising my son as a single mother with the support of my parents. My son has remained a kind-hearted child despite all that has happened, and he seems to be adjusting well to his new school. I will continue to work as hard as I can and watch my son grow up.
My husband threw divorce papers at me, but he came begging for forgiveness after I told my dad.
I'm going home for a while. Then don't come back. Here, the divorce papers. I've already signed them. Take them and get the hell out of here. My husband threw them at me. I picked up the scattered papers up and visited an attorney's office. My husband will regret this. I'm Zoe, 28 years old. My husband Noah is 2 years older than me, and we were being married for a year. I've been working as a freelance graphic designer from home since before my marriage. Noah works as a salesman. A friend of mine introduced us when I was mopping about my fresh breakup 2 years ago. At the time, I had no intention to start a new relationship, but Noah insisted on hanging out as friends. He supposedly fell in love with me when my friend showed him my pictures. After going out with him on several occasions, I came to know of his affectionate side and eventually fell in love with him. I confessed my feelings to him, and we became an official couple. Then he proposed to me 6 months later, and we got married. Honey, you're very lucky to be chosen by me. I'm the top salesman at work, and many girls are chasing after me. Noah repeatedly boasted after we got married. He was indeed a good-looking elite businessman, but his saying it out loud was questionable. At the time, I took his arrogance as a charm. I was blinded by love, you know. I love my confident, kind, and manly husband. We don't have kids, but I was fulfilled in my marriage. 1 year after we got married, I started facing an obstacle. Listen, Zoe, when will you make me happy with the grandchild? It was my mother-in-law, Emma. She started to ask me to get pregnant as soon as possible every time I saw her. Noah and I visited his parents a few times a month since they lived within a 15-minute drive. I had to hear the same question frequently. We are still young, so we want to spend a little more time together. She blatantly gave a loud groan of dismay. You say young, but you're turning 30 soon. I gave you a year to see how things go and didn't say anything, so that's enough, isn't it? It's about time you had a baby before it gets too hard on you. When I got married, I had Noah right away. Besides, you're doing nothing at home, aren't you? She couldn't get used to the idea of working from home, so she didn't recognize my work as work. Anyway, the real reason we didn't want to get pregnant yet was that Noah insisted on being alone for a little longer. What are you saying? I don't work from home. I've told you many times that my salary is the same as Noah's. I'm suspecting that's a lie that he's covering for you. Aren't you just hanging out at home? That's so not true. Noah, say something. Oh, yeah. At times like that, he didn't say anything to help me. He once explained the reason. Mom doesn't really listen to me when I try to explain things to her. It's a waste of time. Just let whatever she says go in one ear and out the other. Still, I was in trouble, so he could have at least defended me a little. Instead, he just laid on the sofa, fiddling with his phone, and made ransom responses. Anyway, whatever you say, you're not busy. You'd better fulfill your role as a wife. If you don't get pregnant by the end of this year, I'll ask you to leave Noah. Excuse me? No excuse. Noah is my only child. I need a daughter-in-law who will leave me a legitimate heir. Noah didn't even look up from this phone, while I was being unreasonably scolded by his mother. I was so angry that I questioned him about it once we were back home. Hon, why didn't you intervene earlier? You need to convince your mom that it's you who won't delay having kids. I'm sorry, but she's too old-fashioned. She's stuck with the idea of having kids as soon as married. I know, but you could at least try and explain to her. She's the kind of person who never changes mind. It's just wasting my energy. I've been telling you from the beginning, just give her random appropriate answers. But she said she would ask me to leave you if I don't get pregnant by the end of the year. Don't worry, she's just trying to scare you. Look, it's not because she told me to, but I think it's about time for us to start a family. Why don't you want a baby? I don't mind. I just want to enjoy the two of us for now. If we have a baby, you'll be busy that you won't have much time for me. He put me into his arms as he spoke. I thought he was adorable and held him back tightly. He knew the right things to say at home, but when we went to his parents' house, he still didn't protect me from his mother. She even started calling me every day asking if I was pregnant. I was getting sick and tired of her. I had never mentioned to her that it was Noah's idea to delay the pregnancy. I was concerned about causing a family feud, but I ran out of my patience and finally told her about it. However, she denied it once. Is that what you are making him say? There's no way he would say that. Of course not. It's exactly what he tells me. I want to have a baby soon too. Oh, Noah, is that true? Not exactly. I do want to stay with the two of us, and she agrees with me too. I was stunned. I did agree with him, but if he told her in that context, it sounded like I just lied about wanting a baby soon. Emma glared at me as I expected. You see, you are agreeing with him. Have a baby as soon as possible. Don't keep me waiting forever. It ended up with me being at fault again. When we got home, I asked him why he had to say it like that to his mother. He said he would clarify with her next time, which he never did. I wondered why I had to go through such headaches and felt gloomy around that time. Then I found out why Noah didn't want a baby one day. It was a weekend, and he was out. Once a month, he made plans to go out with his friends. At first, I was just lounging around at home. We were supposed to go and see Emma in the evening, so I was feeling down thinking about what she would say to me. I decided to go out to distract myself. I felt a little better after shopping for the first time in a while and was about to take a coffee break. At first, I wasn't sure what my eyes were seeing. There was a woman, her baby, and Noah in the terrace section of the cafe. I quickly hid behind the wall to avoid being seen by him. He and the woman seemed to be having a pleasant conversation, and then he suddenly picked up the baby and cradled it. My mind went blank and just kept watching the scene in front of me without comprehension. He said he was going out with a friend, and I wondered if she was the friend. I thought I'd be introduced to all of his friends since we got married, but I had never met her. Then I saw him kissing the baby on the cheek. After all the talk about denying the pregnancy, my heart ached to see him looking lovingly at someone else's baby. I began to think that he didn't really love me, and that's why he didn't want to have a baby with me. My sights became blurred with tears. I wondered if he was cheating on me. The thought made my heart ache even more. I took a picture of the three having a pleasant time together. Just as I was about to leave the place, he handed the woman an envelope and stood up. I rushed back home so as not to run into him. He came back 15 minutes after me. As soon as he did, I questioned him. "Hey, hon, you went out with your friend, right?" "Yep. What's up?" "Is she your friend too?" I showed him the picture I had taken earlier. His face lost color all of a sudden. "What? Why do you have this picture?" "I just happened to find you guys when I was shopping." "What's this all about? Explain it to me. Have you been cheating on me?" "No way! I have not." "Then who is this?" "Also, what the hell was the envelope you handed her at the end?" As I continued to question him, he slowly answered with a look of dismay on his face. "Well, I was going to tell you sooner or later. You know, I'm pretty popular, right? So, I had a few flings before I met you, and one of them got pregnant." "Huh?" I was flabbergasted by his confession. "I found out after we got married. She was already 28 weeks pregnant by the time she told me, and she was determined to have the baby. It was my fault for ignoring her, even though she tried to get in touch with me earlier. She didn't ask for a marriage, but wanted me to recognize the baby. I felt bad for the child to be fatherless, so I acknowledged it. I asked her for a once-a-month visitation right in return. She was also having a hard time financially, so I'm paying her child support." My head spun upon hearing his revelation, and my knees gave out. "Honey, are you okay?" He quickly rushed to my side, but I refused his touch. "Wait a minute. It's a little strange. She was 28 weeks pregnant when we got married. Does that mean you were with her when we were dating?" "I'm telling you, it's not like that. When we became official, I completely cut ties with her." "But we were already seeing each other, right?" "Yes, but we weren't in a relationship yet." I couldn't believe it. Even though we weren't officially a couple, he was obvious with his intention to become one. Yet he was having a fling on the side? I didn't know what was going to happen to us, so... Besides, I never thought she would get pregnant. "But you were still acting in a way that got her pregnant." "Well, yeah," he mumbled. I had never expected him to be so irresponsible. I was furious that he had never mentioned it, even after a year of marriage. "So, since you already have a baby, is that why you don't want to have one with me yet?" He flinched once, and then made an awkward smile. "No, I want a baby with you at some point, but as I said before, I'm paying child support every month. If we were to have a baby, you might need to take a break from work. If that happens, it's going to be very tight financially. I thought about starting a family with you after I get a raise." I was already beyond angry and was simply dumbfounded. "Well then, make sure you tell your mother about this." "No way!" "Yes, I'm the one who's always been blamed by her, and you turned a blind eye. You even made it sound like I didn't want a baby." "No, I can't tell my parents that I have a child with another woman." "What the hell? That's so selfish." I had to unknowingly go along with your selfish ego every time and was made to feel bad about it. "Watch your tongue. Are you trying to say you don't like being with my family?" "I didn't say that. I'm saying that I was unreasonably bland because of you. I don't dislike Emma." "What's with your attitude? I've apologized. Why are you still complaining? Don't you forget that you're lucky to be married to an excellent man like me. You're overreacting just because I have a child." "Overreacting? That's enough. It's a waste of time talking to you. I want to think about the future, so I'm going back to my parents' house for a while." "What the hell? Why would you do that? There's no need for you to think about anything. You're my wife. You're supposed to accept all of me. I was amazed by his ideals. How could I so easily accept such a serious matter just because I was his wife? I was also furious that he had been hiding the illegitimate child from his parents. I couldn't forgive him for making me look back in front of Mama, even thought it was his fault. Just because I'm your wife doesn't mean I can accept everything. Anyway, I'm leaving, and while I'm gone, you also need to think about it. As I was about to get up, he got up first and went into the bedroom. He came back with something and threw it at me. Then don't come back here. If you can't accept me for who I am, you're not my wife. Here, the divorce papers. I've already signed them. Take them and get the hell out of here. He threw them at me. What do you mean you've already signed? I could have understood if he asked for a divorce, but the fact that he had already signed meant that he had prepared them in advance. I couldn't believe it. He smiled sarcastically and replied, You never know what's going to happen in life, so you have to be prepared for everything. Well, I like your appearance, but if you can't accept me, I don't need you anymore. Fortunately, there are many women who threw themselves at me. I just have to choose a good one. In other words, there are plenty of women who can fill the role of my wife. His arrogance pissed me off. I just wanted to calmly think about the future, including the illegitimate child. But not only did he allow me to do so, but told me that there were others to take my place. I had the right to be furious at him for treating me like that. I clutched the divorce papers tightly and glared at him. I didn't think you were such a scumbag. I will give you a divorce as you wish. I'll get my stuff when you're not here. I doubt we will ever see each other again. Goodbye. I ran out of the house and started to look for a lawyer on my phone. However, I knew that I couldn't contain my anger if I just left at that point. As soon as I got to my parents' house, I reported to my father the whole thing. I took the next day off work to pick up my things. I thought I had a happy marriage. I was so disappointed to realize that I had married such a scumbag that tears welled up. I tried to think it was a blessing to disguise that I got to find out before wasting many more years and wiped my tears away. When the packing was finished and the mover came to pick them up, I received a call from Noah. Hello, Zoe? I'm so sorry. Please, forgive me. As soon as I picked up the phone, he apologized frantically. I grinned at the distressed tone of his voice. No way. I can't forgive you. You initiated the divorce anyway. I just gave you what you wanted. No. That was just a joke. I mean, I've realized that what I've done and I'm sorry. You haven't done anything with the divorce papers yet, have you? Of course I have. I've already consulted a lawyer. Let's just forget the divorce and start over. I can't live without you after all. I wanted to laugh at the sound of his despair. I was convinced that he was pushed to the edge of the cliff because of my father. That was expected. My father was the CEO of a major client of his company. Noah, in the heat of the moment, must have forgotten all about it when he threw the divorce papers at me. I was thrilled to know that he was being punished. Have you lost the contract of a major client? That's a shame. I can't believe the elite salesman blundered like this. Let's see how he handles it. Right, that's what I'm going to start over with you. There are plenty of women to replace me, aren't there? Good luck finding one. I hung up the phone and enjoyed the feeling of triumph. Later, my father told me that Noah was demoted for losing the contract. I guess he was lucky he wasn't let go. Because of the incident, the company's business had been going downhill, and his co-workers apparently gave him reproachable eyes. He told his parents about the illegitimate child. They were happy at first and tried to have him married to the mother of the child. However, once they found out the woman was very poor, They changed their mind. Noah asked me again to start over, but of course I refused. Who will willingly go back to that mother-in-law and ex-husband? Meanwhile, our divorce was finalized. Now I've been living at and working from my parents' house. I recently landed a contract with a major company, and my work is going quite well. I'm now devoting myself to work while hoping to meet someone wonderful someday.